Good evening and welcome to the 5:30 All Levels Yoga class. It's Friday evening, December 4th in the year 2020. And I am Chris, coming at you here from the Hatha Yoga Center in Seattle, Washington. And looking forward to a well-rounded Friday evening yoga class. So as always, I'm starting in a seated position, and I'm just going to wait and see if anybody has any requests. Hello, Joanne, how are you? Please let me know if there's anything you'd like to work on this evening or anything you're wanting. And I'm just starting in a seated position here, so I'm just going to ground myself, finding my seat, letting my spine lengthen up, and finding a little bit of movement, making my way into this seated position as comfortably as possible, finding the natural curves of my spine, and finding my breath. So just beginning to bring yourself more into the awareness of your breath. Breathing in and out through the nose and taking a few balanced breaths to start this evening. So you might feel the movement of your rib cage as the lungs inflate and deflate. You might feel some movement in your belly, making a little bit of room for your diaphragm by finding length in the spine and also finding the curves of your spine. And just taking a couple more breaths as I wait to see if anybody has any requests. I can see some comments are coming in, so I'll come over and look in just a moment. And if you're at home and you're sitting and breathing and grounding yourself and preparing yourself for practice, you could bring your hands together at your heart and just pause for a moment. Maybe setting an intention or a dedication for your practice this evening, if you like. Really feeling your breath, being curious about your breath. And then you could just release your hands and let me just see what we have here. Hi, Janice. Joanne needs everything. Me too, Joanne. Lisa, are you here? If you have any requests, Lisa, let me know. Let's stretch our wrists. Turn your fingertips back and just bring a little bit of weight forward and outer hips, abductors, frog, you got it. I'm gonna just try to do like a really nice, kind of well-balanced practice and kind of cover most areas, definitely hips and shoulders. You could then just shake your hands out. Maybe take a moment and just kind of go through each finger. Just feeling for a moment the thumb. And shake your hands again. And then bring your hands down like this. Actually, let's do this like this. Bring your arms out to the sides with the palms up. And curl your hands like this. So you're drawing the hand back with the arms straight. And you'll feel a stretch on the back of the hand and in the wrist. And then open the palms and turn the fingertips down. And then curl them back up again. Try not to bend the elbows too much. You could bend them a little bit. And one more time, fingertips down. And then with your hands like that, turn so the fingertips are pointing up and then curl the hands again. This time fingertips pointing towards the floor and then up, pressing out. And one last curl like that. And release and shake it out. And then let's come to hands and knees and start some cat-cow movement with the breath. Oops, get my glasses over here. So spreading your hands and finding your tabletop and then moving slowly. So rounding the spine, starting the movement with your pelvis, letting your head be the last thing to move so the movement ripples up the spine. Inhaling as you drop your belly, exhale as you round. Couple more times through, feeling the belly contracting and stretching and lengthening. And coming back to your tabletop position, walk your knees back a little bit, come into a high-hipped prayer, spread your hands, keep your forearms lifted, bringing your forehead down to the floor. You could rock a little bit from side to side, rolling over the forehead, giving your forehead a little massage. And then come back to center and walk the hands over towards the right, really reaching through the right hand. You could keep the forearm lifted or let it relax. Lengthening your spine, feeling lengthen the right side of the waistline, the side of your body. Breathing. Walking your hands over towards the right and drawing the left hip back. And feeling that same lengthening up the left side of your waistline, up into the shoulder. Nice, comfortable breathing in and out through the nose. Bringing hands back to center. And you could bend your elbows and kind of walk them forward. You might keep your head lifted and stretch a little bit into the backs of the upper arms. And then maybe bringing the forearms down. So the hands come straight out from the elbows. And just a little sliding dolphin on your knees, just starting to warm up, warming up the shoulders. Feeling through your range of motion there. Not pushing into any end range that doesn't feel good. So I bring my weight forward, and about right here is where it starts to feel not good. And then let's come back up to hands and knees. And let's reach back through the right foot, pressing back through the heel, keeping the leg lifted, keeping sacrum level. And then you might reach forward with the left arm, thumb pointing up. And take a couple breaths here, maybe lifting the top of your left foot off the floor in this position that we do a lot here. Some call it bird dog. Some call it tiger pose. Feel your belly lifting, breathing, and release. And circle the hips, off the ribs, just making your own shapes. Maybe the head goes to one side and the hips to the other. Coming back to center, and then we'll reach back through the left foot, pressing back through the heel, toes are pointing down. Kind of press into the floor and lift up and reach your right arm forward. You could lift the top of your right foot off the floor for a little more challenge. Breathing. And release that. And circle again. And coming back to center. And then tuck your toes, bring some of your body weight back, your hips towards your heels, stretching a little bit into the backs of your calves and the top and the bottoms of the feet. Breathing. You might start some Ujjayi breathing, just gently closing off the back of the throat. It's a subtle thing, but allows you to stay a little more present with your breath. And then come up into down dog, just slowly with the knees bent, lifting the hips. And maybe taking your own movements here. That might be bending into one knee and the other, maybe moving your hips. You can pause and hold one heel down, or just pedal the feet. See if you can let your head relax a little so the neck isn't holding any unnecessary tension. And then come back to center and pause for a moment. And then let your knees come down and just tap the floor and then lift them back up. And do that a couple times, like you're coming into a hands and knees and then lifting back up to down dog. Feeling your legs working. And come back to downward facing dog again. And then let's walk your hands back towards your feet. So come into a forward bend. Your feet are about hip width. Knees could be bent, finding your long spine. So the hinge is at the hip. Long neutral spine, so let the neck be part of that. Keep it long and neutral, easy, finding your breath. And then sweep the arms out and up. Coming into this upward facing position, reaching up. You could clasp the hands and press the hands forward and then let them float up slowly. You'll start to feel the place where it feels kind of harder to move. Then release the hands, lift your gaze. And then coming back to your forward bend, knees are bent. And take a breath there, again in the forward bend. Feeling your feet on the floor. Noticing how you're standing on the soles of the feet. And how the weight of your body is distributed over the soles of your feet. See if you can feel your arch gently lifting. Maybe you can feel the area under your pinky toe and under your big toe kind of evenly pressing into the floor. And let's sweep up one more time. Sweep the arms up slowly like you're coming up, gathering up the air. And then maybe you could come up onto the balls of your feet. We say tiptoes. You're not really standing on your tiptoes, you're standing on the balls of your feet. Maybe some weight in the toes as well, lifting the heels. And then let the heels slowly come back down towards the floor. And again, sweep the arms out and come into your forward bend. And then from your forward bend, you can bend your knees as much as you need to. First, walk your hands out into like a little tiny downward dog, like a puppy. Lift your palms, so be on your fingertips, and feel your armpits lifting and your belly lifting, kind of doming up. So it's like a miniature version of down dog. And then slowly walk the hands forward. You might need to bend the knees or stay on the fingertips, but walking out to your big dog. And just taking a breath here. And then let's possibly step your right foot up behind the left foot, bringing the sole of the right foot to the floor and lifting right hip so that you're lengthening all up the right side of your waistline. Breathing steadily and comfortably, stepping back to center. And the left foot comes up, sole of the left foot comes to the floor behind the right foot, lifting your left hip. Nice steady breath, reaching, feeling your hands spreading. Maybe a little lift of the palm, fingertips are touching the floor. Stepping back, which is okay because I have it on the right setting. Let's step the right foot forward to the front of the mat. Bring your left knee down. And come into this low lunge with your abdomen kind of tucked up alongside your inner thigh. You could be on fingertips or on blocks. Head and shoulders are staying lifted. Tail is lifting also, so you're moving towards a neutral spine even here. And just another breath, and then take your right hand on the inside of the right foot and let your hips come back, keeping your hands on the floor and just kind of moving gently through this lunge, keeping the head lifted, and then draw the hips back, straightening the leg. You might keep the Toes on the floor, stretching the top of the foot. Last one more time, hips draw back. You could lift your toes. You can be up on fingertips or draw your hands back too, just to keep the head and shoulders lifted. Then come forward, bring your hands back around the foot, and bring yourself up and walk that right foot back a little bit so you're in an upright lunge now, finding your pelvis perpendicular to the floor here. Sweep the arms out and up. So you could lift the right foot. You'd be balancing over your left knee, so keep that kind of alignment. And take another breath. There's a little bit of extension in the front of your left hip. And then bringing your hands together in prayer, come into this twist. If that doesn't feel right, you could also just bring your left fingertips to the floor. Feeling a little twist in the upper body. And then turn, and let's step back to downward facing dog. And just move a little bit in your downward dog. Lifting your tail. Heels can be on the floor or they can be lifted. For some of us, bringing the heels to the floor would not be possible without a lot of struggle, so whatever's right for your body. And then from here, we'll come forward into plank pose. So long neutral spine from the crown of the head back through the heels. Your whole body is resisting gravity, lifting away. You're pushing the floor away. And you're holding up quite a bit of body weight here. It's being distributed between your feet and your hands. Lift your belly a little. And then come all the way down onto your belly, sweeping your arms back, clasping hands, coming into this armless cobra. So the tops of the feet could stay on the floor, just rolling up and rolling a little side to side. Maybe rolling all the way over onto your left side, kind of pinning the left shoulder underneath and letting the right shoulder slide down, and then kind of looking back almost as if you're looking back up and over the right shoulder, so there's a little stretch in the left side of the neck, rolling back onto your belly, and then over onto the right side. Same thing, just kind of pinning your right shoulder. You can feel your left shoulder blade sliding. Just being thoughtful about your neck, and then back onto the belly. And release, you could just rock the hips a tiny bit side to side, and then come into Sphinx pose. And take a few breaths here in Sphinx, kind of feeling your belly like it's dragging forward, stretching, chest is open. Maybe there's a little sense of lengthening the tailbone down towards the heels to take compression out of the low back. Lifting the belly. You could turn your head and look from side to side. And then maybe walk the elbows forward here. I have the carpet here so I can get a little purchase with my fingers. And bend elbows, bringing hands into prayer or pushing fingertips together and palms apart. Feeling into the upper arms. Stretching a bit. And then perhaps you could come up onto the elbows and take the thumbs underneath your chin and kind of come into extension with your neck. You could also bring your palms if that feels safe for your neck or feels good for your neck. Just take a couple breaths there. And then release that and bring hands back again. Clasp the hands, this time lift the toes, coming into this full-on locust pose, Shalabhasana. Keeping your neck at ease here, long and neutral. Feeling your breath. See if you can feel it in the sides of your rib cage here. And release it and make your way back to downward facing dog. So just lifting your tail and coming up into dog. And maybe here in dog, you could take a little rotation in your upper spine. You could reach your left hand back for the right lower leg. So there's a little rotating of the thoracic spine. Press into your right hand. And then switch hands, bringing right hand back to the lower left ankle or lower leg. Feeling that little twist happening in the upper back. Nice steady breath. And release that hand. And then we'll step the left foot to the front of the mat, bringing the right knee down. Coming into this low lunge. Lifting head and shoulders. You might be up on fingertips or on blocks. Feeling your belly pressing into the inner thigh. Couple of breaths, maybe steady gaze ahead. Ujjayi breathing. Feeling the good feeling of just, we've been moving for about 20 minutes, just feeling how you start to shift with the breath and the movement into feeling a little differently. Hopefully feeling a little more invigorated, feeling a little better already with your practice. And then bring the left hand on the inside of the left foot and draw your hips back. You could keep the toes on the floor, maybe up on fingertips or on the palms. And come in and out of the lunge, drawing the hips back. Trying not to round too much in the upper back. And maybe on the next time that you draw the hips back, you could also draw the toes up. And then come back into the lunge. Bring your hands on either side of the foot. And then bring your weight back and up. So we're coming into the lunge with a little higher, little different variation. Weight over the right knee. Pelvis perpendicular with the floor. Sweep the arms out and up. So you could actually lift your left foot because you're really balanced over the right knee. Lift the gaze, find your breath here. Finding the right place for your shoulder blades. So feel how they can move. They're able to slide down the back of the rib cage to slide up. So finding a comfortable kind of your own neutral shoulder blade position. And that might be just a little adjusting regularly to find it. And then bringing hands together, taking the twist like you did on the other side, maybe with the elbow to the knee, or with a hand on the floor. Little twist in the upper spine, the neck. You could look up or straight ahead. And then release the twist and step back again to downward facing dog. And take a breath in your downward facing dog. So some of the things that allow us to be able to reach our heels to the floor in downward dog would be, of course, obviously tightness in the hamstrings and calves prevents that. Also the amount of movement we have in the ankle joint, so how much we can dorsiflex our ankle, drawing the toes more in the direction of the shin. So I have a lot of movement in that way. Also our shoulders, so there's a lot of things that go into downward dog and where our heels can land. Everybody's anatomy is different, so lots of things to take into consideration. Let's come forward again into plank pose. And hold plank for a couple breaths. If you want a little more, you could lift one foot. Keep the sacrum level as you do that. Hips evenly lifted. Switching legs. Staying steady with your gaze and your breath. Pushing the floor away. And then bring the knees down, and again, come down onto the belly. And rock the hips a little. And then bring your arms out to the sides of your shoulders. Tent your fingers and lift your elbows so the fingertips are right out from the shoulders, and roll up and down a few times. So you don't have to go all the way to your full range of motion. Tap the forehead. So maybe you're coming just up to part of the way up, not all the way, but it'll get easier the more you make that movement. And then you might find the place where you can pause for a moment comfortably with no pain in your back. Your arms have to work a bit. Find your breath. It's going to be different for everybody. And then roll down again and rock your hips. You could take your right leg on top of the left and cross your legs and lift your legs, and then draw the elbows together. Lifting up, lifting the chest, lifting the thighs off the floor, reaching back through the toes. Taking a few breaths here. Kind of squeezing your knees together. And release that side. Rock the hips a little. And then bring left leg on top. Again, squeeze the legs together. Reach back through the toes, lift up. Drawing your elbows towards each other, retracting your shoulder blades, lifting the chest, breathing, lifting thighs. Nice steady breath, steady gaze. Neck stays long and neutral. And release it again, rocking your hips. Breathe into the belly a little bit. Bringing hands underneath the shoulders, tucking your elbows in, and making your way back up through prayer for a moment. And then back up to downward facing dog. Try lifting your right leg up, keeping your sacrum level, so you're not lifting your hips. The sacrum is level. You could reach your left hand back if you want, coming into a two-limbed dog. You can also just keep your hand on the ground and play with it. And release your hand and then the foot. And take a breath there. And then we'll reach the the left leg up. Really plant your left hand and wrap the elbow in, securing your shoulder, and then reach your right hand back up to the sacrum, or just play with the balance in this two-limbed dog. And release the hand and release the foot. And bring your knees down again and do a little cat-cow. Finding your breath. Inhale. Exhale, round. Inhale, let the belly drop. Arching the back. Exhale, round. And then come back to hands and knees. Tuck your toes again. Lift up to downward facing dog. And we're going to come sideways on the mat. So I'm going to step my left foot forward to do that and turn to face the wide edge of the mat, coming into a wide-legged forward bend. You're going to walk your hands out in front. Try that thing where you come up on fingertips and you dome up your palms, dome up your armpits and your belly. And then just come, if you can, into this kind of wide-legged downward dog is what it looks like. Forward bend with the arms reaching forward. And then walk the hands back in and over towards your left ankle or lower leg, letting the head relax. Feeling that side stretch again. Play with your weight a little bit, coming forward, tipping the tail up if you can. Walk hands over towards the left ankle or lower leg. I like to reach around my foot, but that's not always accessible. Nice steady breath. hands back to center. And you could bend a little bit into one knee and the other. Maybe turn your toes out a little bit while you're doing that. Just going side to side. Maybe you could lift your hands. And then back to center. Let's do a twist. So keeping the right hand in between the line of the toes. You could bring your left hand back to the sacrum and just turn your spine. So it's like from your tailbone to the crown of the head. It's like a long line that's just turning. Maybe you can pick your right hand up and press it into the left, top of your left thigh. Lengthening out further. And then release. And again, just bend a little into one knee and the other. And then left hand in between the line of the toes. I like to turn my fingertips back. Reaching your right hand back to the sacrum and turning the spine. Just thinking from the tailbone all the way to the crown of the head. Turning. Maybe the left hand comes to the top of the right thigh. Kind of lengthening the spine further. And then unwind. Coming back into the forward bend, you could reach your hands back, clasp the hands, take a little shoulder stretch. And release that. And then turn your toes in for a moment and feel into that outer part of your lower leg on each side. Be careful with your knees, but you could bend your knees a bit and you'll feel that stretch up the outer part of the lower leg. It's kind of intense. And then just come back to turn the toes out a bit. And let's come up. We're going to come into some variations of horse. So feet are pretty wide, toes are angled out, and the body is going to come sit straight down. So you're going to keep in this neutral spinal position, sitting down into your horse position. Let's do a couple of rounds of breathing. Just reach the arms up, inhale. Exhale, arms come down. Inhale the arms up. Exhale down, keeping the head up right on top of the shoulders. Sitting a little deeper. Some people call it goddess pose. Let's do two more like that. Last one like that. And then straighten your legs. Keep your toes angling out. And let's do this. Let's bend the knees down and then straighten, bring the arms up. Do that a couple times. Kind of like a slow motion jumping jack, except you're not jumping. A couple more times. Bending and straightening, bringing the hands together above when you straighten. And then come back into horse. And you can take a little side bend. Just bring your right arm in front, left arm up and over, and then switch. And you could go back and forth, kind of windmilling your arms, gracefully if possible. Legs stay really strong and steady. Your upper body is moving. And then back to horse. Straighten your legs and come forward again. And find your breath. You can bend again into one knee and the other. And then let's come into frog pose. So come forward, bring your knees down, feet together. There's a couple variations of frog we do here. One where the feet are together, knees apart. One where we bring our ankles to the floor, feet just kind of down from the knees and flexed. So choosing your variation, just being thoughtful about your body, not doing any harm to the knees or pushing too hard in the pose. Couple more breaths, keeping your spine long, feeling the breath. Let it be your Ujjayi breathing so that you can hear it. Nobody else around you can hear it really, unless they were really close. It's a gentle but powerful tool for your practice. And then if your knees are apart, bring your feet together if they're not already, and see if you can come up into this kind of frog cobra position. If you want, you could add lion's breath. You could take a big breath in through the nose, and then just roar the breath out, stick your tongue out. Let's do it again. Inhale. One more time. And then coming back down and come forward onto the belly, bring your feet, knees together, and let your, rock your hips, letting your feet go side to side. Maybe circling your feet. And then let's come back up and let's do a quad stretch. So let's start with a standing quad stretch. So coming to your standing mountain pose and lifting, just bringing the weight over into the left foot, into the left leg, lifting your right foot up and reaching back for the top of the foot. You can always be near a countertop or something, or a wall. And so think about your knees staying pretty close together. Lifting up, you could try reaching your left hand back. So both hands are holding onto the ankle, the top of the foot, and then keep lifting your heart, keep lifting up and press back the top of the foot into the hands. So a little bit of a back bend, keep lifting pubic bone and breathing. Slowly release and let it go and come into this little circling that we do. Toes, ankles, knees, and hips in one direction and the other. And then we'll come to the other side, bringing the weight over into the right foot, lifting left foot, reaching back with your left hand, steadying yourself as you need to. Really feel the standing leg. Reach back with your right hand. So now you have your ankle with both hands, top of the foot, ankle. And then lift up, lift the pubic bone, lift the sternum, and maybe you can press the ankle back into the hands so you're coming more into a back bend. Keep lifting up. Keep breathing. Harder to breathe in this pose, release it. Release the right hand, release the left hand. Circle. Let's try something. So step your right foot over onto so that your legs are crossed onto the other side of the left foot. And then try to stand, see if you can feel your feet pretty evenly on the floor. You might have to kind of play with the position of your legs. And then come into a forward bend. So the knees could be bent a little. Be careful, come into it with care and with consciousness. Take a couple breaths there. Fingertips might be on the floor or on your legs. Find your breath and then come back up. Use your strong legs to help you. Step that foot over and left foot to the outside of the right foot and then come into a forward bend like that. Legs are crossed. So really feel the soles of your feet on the floor. Feel how they kind of you sort of want to lift the inner edges of the feet, which are now the outer edges. See if you can instead press the whole sole of the foot to the floor. If this causes any problem with your knees or anything, just come into a regular forward bend with your feet closer together. And then coming back up. And then let's step again. Let's step the right foot over to the outside of the left foot. This time, let's come into like a little chair pose. So you're just going to bend. You might be restricted from coming really far into it. maybe reaching for your elbows or bringing the arms forward. Really feel the soles of the feet on the floor. And then come up and step left foot to the other side of the right foot. And try that chair pose. Again, feeling for the soles of the feet on the floor. It's a little bit weird. Just trying it out. Crossing the feet. Sitting your hips back and then come up. And step your feet apart. And just let your arms hang for a moment. Little twisting. Coming back to your standing mountain pose. And let's come into chair pose. Bring the balls of the feet together, the heels slightly apart. And then your knees will probably touch. Sit your hips back like that. So there's like that sense of pressing inward and upward. Arms could reach forward. Sitting your hips back. So you're bending at the knees, the ankles, the hips. And then come forward into a forward bend. Your feet are still side by side, so it's a little less stable. So walk them apart a little bit to hip width. And let's step the left foot back. So lift the foot, bend your right knee a little bit, reach it back, and come into this lunge like we did with our knee down. Now, here we are in this long lunge with the abdomen again against the inner thigh. Find your breath. You can always drop the knee if you need to. And we'll take the twist here. So maybe left hand stays on the floor. Keep drawing the right hip back as you open your chest. Let the head drop back. Taking this twist. Feels like there's a string on the back of your left thigh, lifting it up. And then release the hand. Bring your hands on the inside, just like we did before, on the inside of the right foot. And then move a little bit like we did before, maybe straightening the front knee, drawing the hips back, and bending. The next time you lift the hips, step the back leg in a little bit and come into a pyramid. So find the appropriate amount of distance between your feet for pyramid pose. Find your breath. Take a couple breaths here. It's a big leg stretch, obviously. There's almost a sense here as we come towards the twist that the inner thighs are drawing together, even though you can't really see it. And then open up into the twist. Lifting your belly, opening your heart, so you're stacking your shoulders over the wrist. You might take a little bit of the weight out of your left hand. Maybe looking up or straight ahead. Revolved triangle. And then release the hand and pause for a moment. And then bend your front knee and just step forward, coming into a forward bend. And then in your forward bend, walk your feet together again. So the big toe mounds are touching, the heels are slightly apart, and come back into chair. Fierce pose, also known as fierce pose. Utkatasana. Reach your hips back, like you're gonna sit down, and then come all the way up. Step your feet apart. Exhale, come forward. And this time, we're going to bring the weight into the left foot, lift the right foot, bend your knee, step all the way back, coming into the lunge. Knee is lifted. Keep your head and shoulders lifting. Take a couple breaths here. Ujjayi breathing. Keeping your gaze on this side. So your hands on the floor, stacking shoulders. Feel this right thigh lifting up, opening the chest, and then bring the left hand down inside the left foot, and then come back through this same kind of rocking the hips back, coming into the lunge, and then back up into this straight leg, straightening the front leg. And then step the back foot in, coming into pyramid. Taking a few breaths here. So feel right hip drawing forward, left hip drawing back. Sacrum staying pretty level. Nice steady breath. Have a block if you need one. Feel your feet on the floor. And then opening into the twist. So drawing the left hip back, letting your chest open, maybe looking up, keeping the neck long, maybe taking a little bit of weight out of your right hand. Lifting belly, your thighs feel like they're drawing together. Lengthen your toes out, so you're not gripping the mat with your toes. Release that arm. And pause for a moment in your pyramid. And let's step back this time to downward dog again. Just taking a breath or two here in down dog. And let's let the left leg lift up. And then draw the knee forward, round the spine, and again, lift the leg. Draw the knee forward. Hover for a moment, one more time, reaching up, and the next time just coming into pigeon pose. So taking your time. If pigeon is hard on your knees or not accessible to you for some reason, you could come onto your back for a figure four stretch. Maybe coming down to forearms. Nice steady breath. So finding a place where your hips are somewhat centered, your spine is long, and you can feel the stretch, but there's no pain in the knee. You can breathe comfortably. And you're not dropping your head. If you drop your head, it's a lot of weight on the neck muscles and the shoulder muscles, and makes it harder to breathe. So keep the head lifting away from the floor. Some people are coming down like this. They might bring their forehead to the floor, but you don't have to put all your body weight into that front leg. You could hold some of it by putting your forearms down. Just depends on your body, your knees. Pigeon's not for everyone, so if it feels like it's hurting your knee at all, just come onto your back. I feel pretty sensitive about that right now because my knee has been sore and I'm trying to take care of it, so I don't want anybody else to have to deal with that. I'm just gonna turn the camera down a little. And so then walk your hands back in. So now you're in a bit of a back bend. You could come up onto your fingertips. And then lean over towards the left, swinging your back leg forward and around. Before you bring it all the way around the thigh, bring it in front of your shin and lift the hips up, coming into kind of to sit on the heel of your left foot and just to get a little stretch in the back of the right lower leg. So you can feel that the heel stays on the floor. You might bring some weight forward, just breathing, taking it easy. And then sitting the hips back down and bringing the foot to the outside of the right thigh for a seated twist. And that could be with your left leg straight as well. So you could wrap your elbow around your right knee, or you could tuck it under. And just slowly breathing yourself into your twist. And once you feel like you're in a good place with it, maybe you could turn your head and look back over to the left. So you're rotating your neck in the opposite direction of the rest of the spine. And then turn it back. And then turning back to face forwards, you might try reaching for the outer edge of the right foot, lifting the foot up. That could be with a strap too. Maybe you can reach your right arm. And so you're kind of balancing on top of the sit bones. So it's a little different stretch I feel it in my outer hamstring quite a bit. And there's a twist happening in the spine. And then draw that foot in. You might take this lower leg into the crook of your foot into the crook of your elbow and do a little rocking of your hip. Kind of moving it around, the leg around, feeling into the hip, rocking it like a little baby. And then release that leg. And let's bring it again over and come into steer pose, stacking your knees. You can always straighten the bottom leg to make it a little more accessible. And then there might be some forward motion. If there is forward motion, not with rounding. So you might keep your hands back or on the soles of the feet. So we're not doing this, we're staying lifting upright. And so feel how the sit bones are. I kind of want to lift off the floor, just kind of gently grounding the sit bones. And then coming back upright, let's straighten the left leg and take the right foot onto the inside of the left thigh, letting your right knee open out to the side, and come into a little forward bend over that left leg. Again, it's easy to round here, so see if you can find your long spine. You can use a strap. And find your steady breath and your gaze. So you can play with your gaze to help keep your neck neutral. So obviously if you're looking up too high, it's going to make you extend the neck. If you're looking down at your leg, your neck rounds forward. So just finding the right gazing point. And then having your steady, soft gaze and your Ujjayi breathing. And then coming back upright, just take a little twist, bringing left hand to the right knee. You might press through, so engage your left leg, draw the toes back. And then turning back forward. And let's bring the left leg back and step up into your downward dog. And then we'll lift the right leg up. Reach it up and draw the knee forward. Round the spine. Exhale, inhale, reach. Exhale, rounding. Inhale, reaching. And then draw the knee forward for pigeon. And finding your way into your pigeon pose with the right knee forward this time. Again, coming onto your back if you need a different kind of outer hip stretch. You could also bring yourself into a standing pigeon like we do at the bar if you want less weight, body weight into the knee. So there's lots of options. And taking a few breaths here in your pigeon pose. Again, paying attention to your spine and your breath. So nice, long, neutral spine. So the head's not dropping forward. Sometimes it's nice to support the head with a block or a pillow. Notice if you're holding on to any unnecessary tension in your shoulders or neck, see if you can release it. Finding your pigeon pose. What is your variation of the pose that feels right for your body? And then walking the hands back in, coming up onto your fingertips, coming into this back bend. You can feel your chest kind of puffing up like a pigeon, and then lean to your right, let your left leg swing forward, bringing the foot onto right in front of the shin, lifting hips and coming into that stretch of your calf on the left side, and probably feel it in your Achilles. So be careful, you're not pushing too much body weight there, just finding the right spot and finding your breath. So feel the breath all the way around the rib cage. It's inflating and your lungs are inflating and deflating. And then let your hips sit back down, bringing the sole of the foot around to the outside of the right thigh, finding your sit bones, setting yourself up for this seated twist. Now on this side, maybe the hand comes under or elbow around the knee. Shoulders stay kind of sliding away from your ears, not jamming down, but just comfortably relaxing as you sit upright and turn into the twist, then looking back over your right shoulder. Try to keep your chin level with the floor so you're leading with the cheekbone, so you're not tipping the head to do that. You're just feeling into the neck muscles there. And then turning the head back again. And then you could reach for the outer edge of your left foot and lift it up, sitting up on this, kind of on the front of the sit bones. Reach the left arm back if you can. You could also keep the hand on the floor. So there's a twist happening, some big stretch in the muscles of your left leg. And then bending that knee again. And we'll come into this kind of cradling of the lower leg. So bringing the foot into the elbow if you can. There might be a little rounding that happens in the spine there. Just make it intentional if you're doing that. You could try sitting up tall. That might not be possible. So if you are rounding a little bit, your spine is meant to round and it's meant to arch back. So just do it consciously, noticing. We just spend a lot of time in the rounding position and we often are weak in that position. So we can often that's how we get hurt in our back, so be careful. And then release that and stack your knees coming into this outer hip stretch, steer pose. Again, settling down, grounding your hips, feeling your sit bones grounding. And then maybe there's a little forward motion, kind of with the heart. Breathing, so let your breath be steady and slightly audible. And then coming back up. This time we will extend the right leg and bring the sole of the left foot into the inner thigh. And then maybe coming into a forward bend, or just sitting up tall, keeping a neutral spine. So you might come towards the foot, that might be with a strap, but certainly with the long spine and the free and deep breathing, hinging at the hip. I like being able to reach my foot simply because I can get a good stretch of my foot if I kind of pull on the ball of my foot and the toes. But other than that, using a strap is nice because your shoulders can relax. And then coming back up and taking the twist, bringing the right hand to the left knee. And just turning. Again, feel like you're leading. When you turn your head, your chin is staying level with the floor, and it's like you're leading with a cheekbone rather than tilting your head at any odd angle. Not that those things are necessarily bad, but for the sake of finding your alignment here and keeping your spine upright. And then turn back to face forward. You could straighten both legs, lean back and just kind of flop your feet in and out. And then let's, hopefully you have a ball at home. I think most of you do. I'm just gonna make sure that nobody had anything else to say. There's someone named Leilani. Hi, Leilani. Shoulders. I hope I got enough shoulder action in there for you. Let's take the ball. If you don't have a ball, it's okay. You don't need to use the ball. Could be interesting if you do. Put it in between your knees. You could use a block too. And kind of squeeze it as you roll the hips up. Coming into bridge with the ball, adducting your thighs together. And take a couple breaths there. Feel your glutes, keeping a little space under your neck. And then roll down slowly with control. And draw the knees in towards the chest, rocking a little bit from side to side. And then let's roll up without the ball. If you prefer to come into a full wheel, you could do that too. So maybe into bridge, you could clasp your hands underneath and roll the shoulders underneath. You could also come all the way up into your Chakrasana or wheel pose. Maybe up on the balls of the feet. Just coming down when you're ready, slowly rolling down from bridge. And then draw the knees in again gently, rocking side to side. Get your little frog on your back here. So it's a little different in this orientation to gravity. And then maybe up into happy baby pose. Happy baby pose is like a squat on your back. You could reach for the outer edges of the feet or the inner. Or you could play with it and see how that changes it. And you might rock a little. I think that feels good on the low back. If it does for you, feel free to do it. And then back to center. Draw your knees in again. If you have the ball and you want to use it for a little bit of core work, you could bring it underneath your sacrum, just right under the tailbone. If you don't have a ball, you don't have to use one here. You can just stay on your back. If you have the ball, tip and tuck a couple times, just feeling the movement of your pelvis. Try to relax your shoulders. And then press the tailbone into the ball and bring the legs up, toes slightly turned out, arms could be out to the sides, and go one leg at a time. And this, of course, can be done with or without the ball. And you might go fast. Key did this the other day in class. She went quickly, and it becomes almost like a Bhastrika breathing. So you're kind of Breathing as you move the legs. And then draw the knees in. And then we'll do both legs. So that again could be on the ball or not, your choice. So heels together, toes apart. Lengthening the belly, keep it from popping up. Pressing tailbone into the ball as you bring your legs back up. So inhale, the heels down towards the floor. Press tailbone down, exhale, back up. Inhale, heels towards the floor. Pressing tailbone into the ball, exhale, back up. You can do that just on the floor as well. If you have the ball, it might feel good to let your heels come down, hover for a moment, and then bring your feet down. So you're stretching the front of the hips passively here. And then walk the feet in, take the ball out, set it off to the side again. Arms out to the side, feet will be a little wider than hip width, and let your knees go side to side. So go really slow, lift one knee and then the other, keeping your legs as wide apart as possible in the center. And then the next time the knees come to the left, you could let them fall to the floor, pick up your left ankle, put it on top of right knee if that feels good. Nice comfortable breathing here, starting to settle back towards the floor and surrender. And release the foot if it's on the knee, and then slowly bring knees over towards the right in this deer pose. Maybe right ankle on top of left knee. Maybe looking back over the left shoulder. Nice, comfortable breathing. And release that, letting the knees come back up again. Then draw your right knee in, extend your left leg, and take a twist, letting your knee come across. Maybe looking back over the right shoulder. And then turning back onto your back, extending your right leg, drawing left knee in, and coming into that twist on the other side. Knee comes across. And then rolling back onto your back. You could bring the soles of your feet together. Let your knees drop towards the floor if that feels okay for your body. Coming into this reclined, bound angle, maybe the arms come up. Chest stays really open, and find your breath here. Starting to surrender more and more of your body weight to the floor. Just beginning to let go here for our final resting pose. And then coming into your corpse pose, Shavasana, letting the arms come down by your sides, legs stretch out, and just making yourself comfortable in any way that you need to, so you can stay here for a few moments. So if you're at home and you have a blanket or a sweatshirt or something that you need, take the time to get it. Even though we don't stay in corpse pose for too long, it's kind of an important part of the practice. Coming back into a more parasympathetic nervous system state, letting the breath come to its own comfortable, natural rhythm. Practicing surrendering. So we do that in this pose with our body, with our breath, letting it all settle back towards the floor. And letting your breath be very gentle, so there's no effort. It's your body knows how to breathe. You can feel that your heart rate is coming back to a resting heart rate now, probably, hopefully. And we're moving now into the darkest time of the year as we move towards the winter solstice. So a couple more weeks and then we start moving into the light. And it feels kind of dark right now in our country with the pandemic, so there's a lot going on around us that we cannot control, and some things that we can control. So kind of learning which things we do have some control over. And our practice kind of helps us with that. It lets us know that we have some control over our breath and the movements of our body, and over our nervous system, and how we feel. Some control over how we feel in an embodied way. And of course, body, mind, and spirit all connected. There's no way to really separate those things. So our practice can really restore us. It can make us feel more alive. It can make us feel more relaxed, healthier, lots of things. So just taking a few more breaths in your corpse pose, see if you can release any resistance. And then to close, just coming onto your side and coming back to your seat. I'm sitting on my bolster, finding your seat, and maybe bringing your hands together at your heart. And I just want to say thank you to those of you who came to class this evening, Joanne and Janice, and it looks like Leilani. Really nice to have you, and just taking a breath there, maybe pausing to recall your intention if you set one for your class, for tonight's practice. Maybe bowing your head to your heart, to your own inner teacher, your higher self or your higher power. Thank you so much, and thank you for continuing to support the Hatha Yoga Center in the ways that you do, by showing up for class and by paying for your classes as well, so Bob and Key can keep the place going. We really appreciate it. Have a wonderful evening, and I'll see you very soon. Thank you, Janice and Joanne.